everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Starr and I'm a light renegade, part of a collective of Pleiadian beings bringing you information from the veil beyond. Where to start, everyone? Apologies that it's been a little bit of time. I kind of didn't know where to even bring you all into what was happening to me because it wasn't making a lot of sense to me. It still kind of isn't. There's a lot of question marks around what is happening right now with regards to me and where all of this is heading. So apologies for that, everyone, but I'm being called today to start speaking about and sharing some of my experiences of late, and a situation that I try not to talk about too much because I feel a lot of shame around it. I feel a lot of upset, and there's a lot of confusion still with regards to something. So but I'm being called to bring this forward, perhaps for the expansion of your consciousness, and for those that might find themselves in a similar situation, or maybe somewhere along the line similar, because it's quite a wild story, and I have spoke about this before on my channel. This is in my Karmic Connections video that I've already done, but I'm being called to share about it today in a much, in a different way, I guess. But I've been going through a grieving period of this entanglement that I found myself in, and this goes back to probably about 12, 13 years ago when I first met this person, and we were seeing each other for a very short time, and things didn't work out. We were going through very, very similar upsets in our life at that time, and things just didn't align for us to be in each other's lives anymore. But this person was always just there in the back of my mind, and I always felt like I needed to keep an eye on them, or some way like I couldn't leave them. That was how it felt, and I definitely feel like this was the start of my awakening, to the degree that it has found itself now. I would find myself waking up in the middle of the night and kind of knowing that this person was awake too, or feeling what this other person was feeling, and I just didn't understand it for the longest time. And we kind of run in the same circles at one point, so they were kind of just on the peripheral all the time. And there was a time many years ago, where I just sort of said to this person, I don't know what it is, but I think I just love you, and some part of me just always will. And cut to 3 years ago when I started to really awaken again, and just being bombarded with messages about this person, and I just felt like everywhere I turned I was just being reminded of this person. And I was in another relationship at the time, so it just wasn't it wasn't aligning with what was going on for me in my life. And I reached out to this person. I was kind of like, there's some things that aren't making sense in my life, but I think that you might have some answers for me. And this person didn't respond, and this person still doesn't want to speak to me. So it's been a very one-sided understanding of all of this. I have no idea what's going on in this person's life. They actually live 3 doors away from me, so this makes it an even more complicated situation, story, how this is all actually panned out. But this person, they live 3 doors away from me now, and it's been very troublesome. It's felt very energetically draining for me, and I spoke about this in my Karmic Connections video, because when I'd started to awaken, it felt like I was being pulled by this person. I was being pulled by this person, kind of energetically near them, around them. And I was living in a different city at this time. I was living in London, and I felt like I could telepathically communicate with this person. And I sort of said to this person, I'm coming back to my hometown, and they were still there. And I started to have communication with them telepathically, but nothing was playing out in my real time. And then I come to find out that this person was connected to Lucifer in some way. That's in some timeline somewhere they've been connected to this being. So I was actually connecting with Lucifer, pretending to be this person. So that could be a whole other video in itself. But I feel like I've just been having to pull my energy away from this person, and the information that I got on returning back to my home, and when the galactic energy started to come in, was that I'm a Pleiadian, this other person that I know is a Pleiadian, and that we actually had a son together somewhere else. So I was remembering part of our past life together when we did actually have a child. And what I was told is that we got taken from that lifetime back to the Pleiades, and we agreed to come down here for this mission, for this ascension and whatever's been playing out, which I'm still not incredibly sure what has actually been happening with regards to all of this, to be honest with you. So in that time, I've just been having to grieve all of this. I've been having to, you know, kind of work through exactly what happened, because at that time I had to integrate this child into my life. So I spent about 3 months with a younger version of this energetic being, which is called Neo. My son is called Neo. And, you know, I don't have any children this lifetime. This was a completely massive shock for me, but there was no doubt in my mind that this child was mine. And it felt like I could just feel it. You know, I felt like I just remembered. So I spent some time having to integrate this small energetic, you know, version of this child into my life and explain to them, you know, why we weren't in communication, kind of what was happening. And, you know, I got to the point where me and Neo could be, you know, kind of guides for each other on the peripheral, and, you know, things evened out where I was getting to experience him where he was in that real time again. So he was back in the Pleiades at this point, where I was having to integrate sort of his child being into my reality. And then I was able to shift all of that energy into his present time so we could actually interact. And he was training in plant medicine back in the Pleiades, and he's now incarnated in this earth time. Again, I will not be able to speak to him, but I know where he is. And, you know, I think in time I will be able to get to see where he is too, and see what he looks like this lifetime. But it's been a very peculiar situation I found myself in. You know, I don't get to speak to this person who is Neo's father. They literally want nothing to do with me. And yeah, seemingly just seem to just not want me to be happy. And yeah, publicly, you know, shame me for this too. So it's been very confusing, and it's been really painful. And it's been something that I try not to speak about, because it just hurts, and I still don't have a concrete answer for everything. And, you know, this has been something that has been really tricky for me to work through with guides, with my Pleiadian connections especially, because they couldn't give me a straight answer, you know, for my growth. It was kind of things that I've been having to work through. And at the time of Neo kind of coming into my life, another guardian of his came into, and this was a, you know, galactic being. And this being came in when I started to connect with Neo. And, you know, this being was called Tahoe, and he helped me through all of that. So me and this connection, you know, whilst I was still kind of rearing my son into this existence, you know, we kind of had a relationship. And this is when the Galactic Federation kind of stepped in with all of this and said, you know, you can't have this relationship with this being. And it went back and forth for a good month or so about all of this. And, you know, it finally got to the point where I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. And, you know, they had to tell me that Tahoe was a fractal of myself and this other person who is Neo's father, that we created to be his legal guardian of sorts back in the Pleiades. So when I was interacting with this person, it was actually a fractal of myself. So essentially what I'm talking about is a clone of me, of a fractal of me and this other person put into a completely different entity. And when this being first came in, they came through as a bear spirit, and my son as a wolf spirit. When I very first started to awaken into spiritual energy, I would just have this this bear and this wolf spirit coming in, and I just felt such a strong reverence with them. But they were actually my son and his guardian. So it was Neo and Tahoe that appeared to me as spirit animals. So there's been a continuation of this whole entire journey for me over this time, but a lot of it just still doesn't make sense to me, hasn't made sense to me. And you know, I've done past life regressions trying to understand this a little bit further. And the only thing that I've been able to bring forward is that at some point I was an Anunnaki, and I'd had a relationship with a woman, and we had a child that wasn't allowed. I set this child down into the river. And, you know, that was the end of that. So cut to now, and, you know, I was told that that child in that vision that I saw in that lifetime is actually the father of Neo. So, you know, I think that this child died in that transition. So my my connection to them and how it's been so painful, it was about 13 years, you know. And I guess that, well, in my mind, I feel like that is the lifespan of what a child was at that time. You'd live to be about 13, some of them, with the situations, with the conditions that was around at that time. So in my head, I feel like I've had this 13-year contract with this person because, you know, they lost their life because of me somewhere, even though I created them. You know, the way that things panned out, they lost their life because of me. And this just makes no sense. You know, I think that none of this perhaps is even making sense as I'm trying to reiterate it to you, because there's so many different components and so many things that just don't align. And, you know, this person, they are in another relationship, and it's really funny because probably about a month ago, I was told that, you know, I know this other person that they are with from another lifetime too. And, you know, this person had burnt down my house whilst I was a witch. And yeah, it's just really peculiar, you know, the situations that we tie ourselves to, the connections that we agree to be in, and, you know, all of the pain and all of the trauma that still comes through from those lifetimes. And it's made everything just very, very much confusing for me. And I'm still not given a complete understanding of any of this situation, which is why I don't bring it forward a lot of the time, because I don't have any answers for it. I don't have any complete answers for anything, you know. And I spent a long time pulling this person out of different timelines where their energy was so wrapped up into connections with Satanism and Lucifer, and it's been very confusing. If you want to go back and watch that video, I kind of speak a little bit more in depth about that. But I've been really having to deal with that and just my you know, my emotions surrounding all of this, because it's still very confusing and just incredibly painful, and it doesn't make any sense to me a lot of the time, because this person hasn't been very nice to me. This person hasn't, you know, been very compassionate at all with regards to any of this, yet there is something inside of me that would still fight for them, that would still, you know, do absolutely anything for them. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, please do reach out. If you know someone that kind of deals with these things in a specific way, please do let me know, because I would love to connect with them. And maybe this is why I'm sharing this, so I can be put in touch with the right person that will be able to help me with this. But, you know, I feel like I'm an entity that's very in control of their own energy and their own capacity for understanding. Yet this situation I'm so clouded by. There is something that I just can't seem to understand or to work through. I've looked at every angle regarding this, and I feel like I just constantly go in circles. So yeah, I feel like I'm being pushed to bring this forward, and apologies if it's making no sense, but I feel like someone somewhere needed to hear it, so I've shared about this today. But apart from that, I've been going through, I guess, a new level of integration with everything, with especially darker aspects of things. And as I said, I've been delving into these darker kind of timelines and reworking energies so that things are a little bit lighter over here. But I've been working really closely with Lucifer and also Archangel Metatron and rewriting contracts with people. And something that I've been doing behind the scenes that I haven't been speaking about a lot is these timeline interactions. And I was doing a lot of fighting. I was in my full Pleiadian body and I was doing a lot of fighting, fighting real big dark energies. We're talking like hordes of demonic looking creatures and, you know, things from the bottom of the ocean, and yeah, just obliterating all of these beings that feel like they, on a mass scale, this feels like, you know, I was literally having to do all of this to save the planet somewhere. And I was having to eat a lot of this energy. There was a lot of timelines coming up where I was finding Lucifer and, you know, sort of saying to him that he has no control and I will always find him, and that's what I do. So I found myself in very, very peculiar situations and spaces, and I didn't really know how to bring this forward, because every day I'd be going into these spaces and they just sound crazy. I know that they just sound like something out of a movie, yet I was physically experiencing them, and I was having to harbor a lot of dark energy, and that was really starting to build up. You know, I do the best that I can to cleanse my body and my guides and everyone else coming through, but I was really starting to feel like this darker essence was living inside me somewhere. And, you know, I kind of made this decision this week to say, I don't want to be processing things through my physical vessel anymore, because I was doing that. I was bringing all of this energy into my body and allowing it to be passed through. And something that I was told that I decided to do this lifetime was to harbor a lot of this dark energy within me, within my life, you know, so that I could work through this energy to help the rest of humanity. And I thought, you know, I feel like I've done my time with that. I spent a lot of years in really dark spaces, in a lot of confusion, in a lot of pain. And I thought, I don't want to be experiencing this anymore. And that is something that you are well within your capacity to say too. I think once you get to a certain point in your journey where you've learned a lot of your big lessons, and you know, you've done a lot of things contractually that you were signed in to do, which I feel like I have. I'm in a position now where I get to mold what is happening. You know, some things I'm still very much tied to, the channelings and who's coming in. I know that is my work here, but there was certain aspects that I think I'm being able to mold in a very different way to suit me and to suit my lifestyle now, because I do want to be living in the light. I do want to be experiencing a lot of fun and a lot of laughter and a lot of love, and all of you out here are supposed to be doing that too. So I think if you are connecting to these lower energies, these darker energies, and you feel like it is part of your work to be doing that, really truly take a look at that and how you are interacting, and how if it's disrupting your everyday life too. I was starting to feel like this energy was interrupting my everyday, you know, sort of capacity to be able to engage with life. And I just thought, okay, I don't want to be doing this in this way. So things have shifted. I've come to a space where I'm kind of meeting darker energies, and they are putting forward aspects of things in timelines that need to be worked through, that could be rearranged, and bringing forward people, specifically celebrities. I don't know why I find myself in Hollywood and celebrity land, but that seems to be what is going on, at least for now. And they are bringing forward souls that, you know, perhaps have just been taking this darker essence to the edge. And I've been having a lot of conversations with Lucifer, which I know is definitely going to split the crowd, but I feel very much within my own energy and my light energy to be able to be doing that. And you know, I've gone to all of my teams, my Galactic Federation connection, you know, my Pleiadian family, and I've been like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And they're saying absolutely yes. So where I find myself right now is having conversations with him. And you know, I had a real deep conversation with him where he's saying, you know, I'm not evil, I'm merely an aspect of what can be, and you know, I'm here to tempt and see if people could have been taken from the light. And that is how it started, you know, at least in some understandings that I have of this. And I know that this is timeline dependable too, because I've been delving into what exactly the Antichrist means, what Satan means, what Lucifer means. And where I am right now, I feel like I'm dealing with two different aspects of Lucifer. I'm dealing with the very traditional biblical sense of Lucifer, the fallen angel, but also this manifestation of all of these people that are connected to you know, these ritualistic aspects of life, and those that find themselves having to do this work so that they can achieve this in these lifetimes. And that's something that is being mirrored throughout all of this work that I've been doing, is that, you know, a lot of these celebrities, they are told that they have to do these sacrifices and perform in such a way so that they can gain fame, fortune, and all those types of things. So that is where I find myself right now. I've been delving into a lot of different stories of people having to sacrifice things so that they can gain monetary value this lifetime, so that they can be, you know, part of Hollywood, part of the elite, as they like to call themselves this lifetime. So I've been doing a lot of research on that and exactly what that means. And all of this seems to be coming back to the Freemasons. I realized that anyone that you see in celebrity land, if they are very high up, they have taken the Masonic order. They have decided to sign, you know, an aspect of them over to this Masonic order, and they abide by their rules. And this leads into, you know, these rituals that we speak about, blood sacrifice, and this goes very, very, very high up. We're talking our presidents and all of those types of things, which I'm sure a lot of you know. So I'm on the cusp of really starting to understand that a lot deeper, and this is where I think Brittany Murphy comes into all of this too, and her level of understanding of fame and the movie industry, I think, is very much tied into all of this too. And then of course we know this then zooms out and goes to the galactic aspects, and how a lot of all of this stems from the reptilian order, and how that is then connected to all of this. But I'm yet to complete all the dots, everyone. So I'm quite surprised that I've been asked to speak today, because there's a lot of things that still have lots of question marks around them, and you know, I'm just trying to gain as much information as I can and understand things at a much more cohesive level. And I was put in front of a dark, like, angelic council the other day and sort of asked, am I ready to be working alongside of them, which of course I agreed to. And then the next morning I had quite a peculiar experience where I grew black wings, but this was very 3D. My body, all my bones in my body started to crack. I felt like I was growing these wings out of my physical vessel. It was really painful. I felt really disorientated. So there's been a lot of things happening that, are just very out of the ordinary to me. And yeah, I've been really trying to understand it all and just integrate it all, and try and just keep my own energy as pure as I can, and making sure that I'm constantly pulling myself into the lighter aspects of everything, so that I can kind of try and balance all of these things. But things have just been so chaotic receiving a lot of this information, a lot of downloads I've been receiving in my jaws, and my jaw's just been feeling really clenched. My body's just not been feeling like mine. I've been having all sorts of energetic upgrades going on whilst still having to process a lot of this grief and emotion, whilst my my 3D life is still going on. So apologies everyone, I'm trying to bring as much forward as I can, but right now things aren't complete into space, aren't completely cohesively making sense to me, but as soon as they do, I will bring them forward to you. But something else that I've been guided to look at into more depth is Aleister Crowley and his teachings, and this idea of magic and what that truly means. And I didn't quite understand what these people that are part of this satanic order, what they believe in. I remember reading the satanic rites a really long time ago and feeling like this is pretty reasonable, what they are saying. It makes a lot of sense. And I've been dealing with a lot of darker energy and entities this lifetime that I just wasn't even aware of. But now that I'm fully in my capacity of everything, I understand where I was being pulled in by this darkness that was attaching to me, and I was having to pull myself back from this energy. And it's really interesting to me because this week I've been finding myself sort of doing things that I used to do a really long time ago. So I started to count to 666 just out of nowhere, and I had a bit of OCD back then. I was really in the midst of my eating disorder, and yeah, things were just very chaotic for me, but I would always count to 6. And I remember this so clearly, and I thought that was definitely connected to this darker energy, these darker essences. And I see this playing out in all of these celebrities and what they're doing. There's so much dark imagery, there's so much dark iconography that they use, and it's just pulling us deeper and darker into all of these aspects. But the actual teachings of Aleister Crowley and the satanical rites is very much connected to what we are doing with our ascension process. This idea of not residing just to one God outside of self, but being your own personal God. And now this is where things are actually a bit fragmented, because they say this but then they also align with Lucifer. So apart from aligning with Lucifer, a lot of their aspects of their understanding of life and where they want this new order to be going is for us to be our own personal gods, not to be residing with one God specifically and handing our power over to anyone else, but keeping our own power and using our own inner alchemy to gain the things that we want in our own lifetime. And I thought that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm starting to see where all of this is coming to a head, and where we have to start looking at aspects of religion and perhaps why they were created, and perhaps why they were there to create some form of order that we don't necessarily need to be in right now. And I know that this is going to ruffle some feathers. I know that this is going to perhaps trigger a lot of you. And I very much understanding of Lucifer and his energy, and I feel like he is wanting to align with us in such a way, because in his eyes a lot of these people have just gone out of control in their own greed, to be honest with you. So he is now working alongside Archangel Metatron with me, through me, to be rewriting contracts for some of these very high-end people, to be bringing them back towards the light. So that's where I find myself right now, everyone. So apologies, I've been delving into a lot more magic and trying to understand that, the alchemy of everything. But also I've been guided back to ancient Egypt, and I have a lot of connections to Egypt. I've been told a very long time ago that Thoth and Hathor are actually my mother and father, all of us light renegades, and there is an essence of me that still resides somewhere in ancient Egypt, and this is something that I keep being drawn back to, but I'm not being given the full information yet. So again, I'm just in this crossroads of so many different things, everyone, and I'm trying to bring in as much as I can and make a lot of this make sense, but I feel like this is something that I'm having to process, as well as at the same time make it make sense and fit into everything else that we are doing. So I'm constantly just expanding right now, bringing as much, you know, information that I have in like text and information from different videos, and then trying to bring this all back into the things that I've been brought by the galactic teams, you know, with regards to Brittany Murphy, connecting to any of these satanic and Luciferian traits that then stem back into the reptilian order. So I've been in very 3D land with all of this investigating, but then all the energy has just been so expansive and so out of this world that, yeah, I was struggling to make it all meet in the middle, everyone. But I think the main reason that they are wanting me to bring this forward is just so that you can kind of understand the things that happen to me in my personal journey and what I kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis that just doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And, you know, I work really hard at trying to bring as much information forward as I can for you all, and when it makes sense, I do. So no, if you don't see me, it's because things just really aren't making sense to me at all, and I hope that you can understand this from this video. But another thing they wanted me to bring forward is that I've been dealing with some like vampiric energy, and I don't even know if that's a word, but I've been dealing with vampires. This is something that came in, I think probably mid last year. I was having visions of like archaeologists going down into caves, into tunnels, and, you know, being attacked by something, and I was like, oh no, I was one of those archaeologists. I was there at that time. And then I was brought to a vampire looking creature, and I thought, oh, I know you. And I used to be obsessed with vampires. I used to read the Anne Rice books, and I was really, really small, too small to read them. Whilst everyone else is reading Harry Potter, I was reading Interview with the Vampire, and all of this makes a lot of sense now. But all of that realm made a lot of sense to me, these 18th century worlds I felt completely at home in. And of late, I've been having like this vampire energy just come into my field of existence, and, you know, I very much feel a very strong connection with this energy, and it feels like there is something else going on with that. And in some of my darker timeline adjustments, you know, I've been a vampire. I've been literally sucking the life out of people, and, you know, having to stake myself through the heart to close that timeline. So I've been in some very, very peculiar spaces, everyone. So know that if I'm not here, it's because things just are not making sense to me at all. And I really, really do try and show up as much as I can with all the information that I can with you. But I think at some points it's too much for me to even bring forward, let alone to then put that on you. I want to be able to be in a space to be able to hold you when I bring information forward, everyone. But I think that's enough for today. I really hope that this video hasn't been just completely scrambled, but there's been a lot of high energy, there's been a lot of emotions, and I thank you all so, so much for your patience. But this will be my last update for a little while. I am going away, so I will be back in August. So I look forward to connecting with you all then, and hopefully in that time all the dots will be connected, so I have something more to bring you in August. But that's all from me today, everyone. Please do take care, and, you know, even when I'm not here, I'm holding so much energetic space for you all. But this will be my last update until I'm back in August. So speak soon, everyone. Take care.